Right, let's talk about justice. It's a wonderful idea, isn't it? A concept so noble we carve it into the stone of our most important buildings, usually held by a lady in a toga who, quite ironically, is blindfolded. The problem is, for many of us, that blindfold feels less like a symbol of impartiality and more like the system is just straight up ignoring us. You walk into a courtroom or a police station expecting that grand cinematic moment where truth prevails. Instead, you get the bureaucratic equivalent of a dial-up modem trying to load a 4K video. It's slow, it's frustrating, and most of the time it just gives up, leaving you staring at a frozen screen of your own shattered expectations. It's a special kind of soul-crushing feeling to realize the people hired to protect you are too busy, too indifferent, or just too overwhelmed to even listen. The whole process starts with a simple, almost naive belief that if you have been wronged, someone will help. You gather your documents, you rehearse your story, you put on your most respectable I am a serious citizen outfit. You think, surely when they hear what happened, they will act. But then you encounter the gatekeepers of justice, the board receptionist, the dismissive clerk, the officer who seems more interested in the structural integrity of his stapler than your stolen car. Each interaction chips away at your hope. They hand you a form, which leads to another form, which requires a signature you can only get on the third Tuesday of a month with a full moon. It's a labyrinth designed not to find a solution, but to make you so exhausted that you simply go away. This feeling of being invisible is the first crack in the foundation of a civil society. When you report a crime and are met with a sigh and a shrug, it sends a very clear message. Your problem is not a priority. Maybe it's not flashy enough for the evening news, or maybe it doesn't involve the right kind of people. So you're left standing there, holding your meticulously organized folder of evidence, feeling like you've just tried to pay for your groceries with Monopoly money. The dismissal is so profound, so absolute, that you start to question your own reality. Did that really happen? Am I overreacting? The system isn't just failing to provide justice, it's actively making you feel foolish for even asking for it in the first place. And let's be brutally honest here. This isn't just about a few bad apples or a couple of overworked employees having a bad day. It's a systemic feature, not a bug. The justice system, in many ways, is built to serve itself. It has its own language, its own arcane rules, and its own pace, which operates on a geological timescale. For the average person who just wants their stolen catalytic converter back or wants a fraudulent charge investigated, navigating this system is like trying to perform brain surgery with a pair of oven mitts. It's clumsy, it's ineffective, and you're probably going to make a huge mess without ever getting close to the actual problem. The promise was justice for all, but what you often get is a PO box and a 6-month waiting list. Now let's follow the money, or rather let's try to. Because when you're dealing with government offices, tracking your own tax dollars is like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. It's a slippery, messy, and ultimately futile exercise. We're told our money goes to vital services, fixing roads, funding schools, keeping the lights on, and some of it does. But a shocking amount of it seems to fall into a mysterious void, a fiscal Bermuda Triangle located somewhere between the Treasury Department and that one specific pothole on your street that has now achieved sentience and is demanding tribute. You see a line item in the city budget for $500,000 for office supplies, and you have to wonder if they're writing memos on solid gold tablets with diamond-encrusted pens. The promises are always so grand, aren't they? A new community centre is announced with a big ceremony, complete with politicians in hard hats holding shiny shovels. The funding is approved, the press release is sent out, and everyone feels great. A year later, the site is still an empty lot, now decorated with weeds and a single lonely traffic cone. Where did the money go? The official answer is usually a masterpiece of vague corporate speak, unforeseen logistical hurdles, reallocation of resources, or my personal favourite, undergoing a strategic review. This translates from governmentese to English as, we don't know, we don't care, and please stop asking. It's a magic trick where your money disappears, and the only thing they pull out of the hat is another excuse. This isn't just about big multi-million-dollar projects either. It happens on a smaller, more personal scale. You're overcharged on a water bill, so you call the utility office. You spend 45 minutes on hold, listening to a tinny version of a song that was popular 10 years ago, only to be told you need to fill out Form 11B/6. You submit the form, and weeks turn into months. You call back, and they have no record of it. The money you're owed is held hostage by a system that thrives on inefficiency. It's almost as if they're hoping you'll just give up and let them keep the extra $20 out of sheer exhaustion. And depressingly often, it works. The truly infuriating part is the complete lack of accountability. When money goes missing in a private company, people get fired. There are investigations, but in many government departments, it's just an accounting error, a rounding mistake, a clerical oversight. Millions of dollars can vanish from a budget, and the response is a collective shrug and a promise to form a committee to look into it. That committee will then spend 6 months producing a 300-page report that concludes, in essence, that stuff happens. It's a system that has perfected the art of failing upwards, where incompetence is not a barrier to promotion but a prerequisite. Meanwhile, you're still driving over that same pothole which has now started its own podcast. So, while the rest of us are stuck in the bureaucratic equivalent of the world's worst traffic jam, there's another lane. A special, freshly paved express lane for the wealthy and the well-connected. For them, the red tape magically turns into a red carpet. The rules, which are so rigid and unbending for you and me, suddenly become as flexible as a yoga instructor. It's a depressing but undeniable truth. The scale of justice isn't just blind, it's also rigged to weigh gold more heavily than anything else. A wealthy CEO gets caught in a massive financial scandal that costs people their life savings, and he gets a fine that's less than his monthly yacht maintenance bill. Meanwhile, a regular person gets a parking ticket, forgets to pay it, and ends up with a warrant for their arrest. Think about it. A powerful corporation gets a massive tax break because they create jobs, even if those jobs are minimum wage and part-time. Then, that same corporation accidentally pollutes a local river. The fine they pay is a rounding error in their quarterly profits, a pre-calculated cost of doing business. But if your small business falls behind on its taxes because of a slow month, you face crippling penalties and the threat of being shut down entirely. The system treats a powerful entity's major transgression as a minor inconvenience, while it treats a regular person's minor mistake as a major crime. It's not just unfair, it's a betrayal of the principle that the law should apply equally to everyone. This special treatment isn't always so blatant. Sometimes it's more subtle. It's the well-connected person who knows exactly which city council member to call to get a zoning variance approved. It's the wealthy defendant who can afford a team of high-powered lawyers to tie up the prosecution in legal knots for years until the case is eventually dropped. Justice becomes a luxury good, an expensive service available only to those who can afford the subscription fee. For everyone else, we get the free ad-supported version, which is slow, full of glitches, and constantly trying to sell you something you don't need. It's a two-tiered system hiding in plain sight. The real danger here is that this erodes public trust at its very core. When people see one set of rules for the rich and another for everyone else, they stop believing in the system itself. Why should you follow the law meticulously when you see powerful people breaking it with no consequences? It fosters a deep, corrosive cynicism that eats away at the fabric of society. The idea of a government of the people, by the people, for the people, starts to feel like a cruel joke. It becomes a government of the powerful, by the powerful, for the powerful, and the rest of us are just spectators, watching from the cheap seats and wondering why our tickets cost so much. So you've been ignored, you've seen your money vanish, and you've watched the powerful play by their own rules. The logical next step for any sane person would be to just give up, to accept that the game is rigged and walk away. And honestly, no one would blame you. Fighting for fairness against a monolithic, indifferent system is exhausting. It's like punching a mountain. You're more likely to break your hand than to make a dent. Every closed door, every unreturned phone call, every dismissed case feels like a personal defeat. It's designed to wear you down, to deplete your energy, your resources, and your will to continue. The system's most effective weapon is attrition. The struggle is often a lonely one. You might be the only one fighting for your specific case, shouting into a void that doesn't seem to echo back. Friends and family might tell you to let it go, to move on. They mean well, but they don't understand that it's not just about the money or the specific injustice anymore. It's about the principle. It's about refusing to accept that this is just how things are. You become an unwilling activist, an amateur lawyer, and a part-time investigative journalist all rolled into one. You spend your evenings poring over documents, your weekends writing letters to officials, and your lunch breaks on hold with yet another government agency. It's a second job that you don't get paid for, and that brings you mostly frustration. But here's the thing, every now and then the mountain moves, not because of one big push, but because of thousands of tiny, relentless taps. Sometimes a persistent citizen finally gets a journalist to cover their story. Sometimes a small group of people who were all ignored individually find each other and realize they have collective power. Suddenly, a case that was repeatedly dismissed is reopened. A corrupt official who thought they were untouchable is suddenly under investigation. These victories are rare, and they are hard-won, but they are incredibly important. They are the cracks of light that prove the darkness is not absolute. This is why giving up is quite simply not an option. Because the moment we all collectively decide to stop fighting is the moment the system wins for good. The corrupt officials, the inefficient bureaucrats, and the privileged few are counting on our exhaustion. They are betting on our apathy. Our persistence is the only thing that keeps them in check. Every letter you write, every public meeting you attend, every question you ask is a small act of defiance. It's a statement that you still believe in what this country is supposed to stand for, even if its current stewards do not. It's a refusal to let them have the final word. So what's the end game here? Are we all doomed to a future of endless paperwork, vanishing funds, and two-tiered justice? Well, that depends entirely on us. The foundation of any democracy isn't the marble buildings or the fancy titles. It's the simple radical idea of accountability. It's the belief that the people who hold power are not our masters, but our employees. And like any employee, they need to be held to a certain standard. If the government is a service provider, then we, the people, are its customers. And frankly, we deserve much, much better customer service. We need a government that is honest and fair, not because it's a nice idea, but because it is the fundamental requirement of the job. Demanding this isn't rude, it's our right. We need to normalize asking tough questions and expecting real answers. When a budget is released, we should ask where the money is going, and we shouldn't be satisfied with vague, jargon-filled responses. When a new law is passed, we should ask who it truly benefits. We need to support local journalism that investigates our city halls and state houses, because transparency is the best disinfectant for the fungus of corruption. We have to vote, not just in the big flashy presidential elections, but in every local election for city council, school board, and county judge, because that's where the decisions that most affect our daily lives are made. Fairness in government is not a partisan issue. It doesn't matter if you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in the middle. Everyone wants roads without potholes. Everyone wants schools that are properly funded. Everyone wants to believe that if they are a victim of a crime, the police will investigate it, regardless of their zip code or income bracket. Honesty and integrity are the bedrock upon which a functional society is built. Without them, everything else crumbles. We are all in this together, and a government that cheats one of us is a threat to all of us. The system should work for the firefighter, the teacher, the small business owner, and the retiree, just as effectively as it works for the billionaire. Ultimately, we have to be audacious. We have to have the audacity to believe we deserve better, and the audacity to demand it. The people in power will not cede that power willingly. Accountability will not be given, it must be taken. So get loud, get organized, support the people and organizations who are fighting the good fight. Remind our leaders at every opportunity that they work for us. The path to a just and honest government is long and difficult, but it starts with a simple, powerful act: refusing to be silent. Let's start making some noise. Because they're supposed to be working for us, and it's about time we started acting like the boss.